Hi, Susan. How are you today?
I'm doing all right. How are you?
I'm doing pretty well. I'm glad to see you came back to see me. I know we talked a little bit about some of your OCD and some of your fears. How do you feel like that's been going for you?
Some days I feel like things are getting better, and then other days I feel like I'm taking a billion steps backwards. So it's been a pretty rough week.
Yeah. In what ways do you feel like you're making, you know, back pedals?
Well, every time, I'm in the kitchen, I'm not even near where we have these sharp objects locked away. Like I just automatically start getting thoughts, like walking in the room, the kitchen, like it just something is triggered and so now it's not just like, oh, I see a sharp object. Now it's like I'm in the kitchen, which I'm associating with knives, and it's just, yeah. So,
I understand now. Has it been just the kitchen lately? Has there been any other places as far as work? Or is it just mainly so home and the kitchen place?
um, for like the sharp objects and what like being triggered mostly at home, but obviously um, I have a hard time leaving the house or getting out of the shower,
Mhm.
leaving the bathroom because of those thoughts. But mostly, I would say just the triggers typically happen at home. But
Right. And have you been trying any of the previous methods or things that we went over to try to help you? How's that been going for you?
Yeah, I've been trying them. I mean, it's kind of tough because I feel really guilty that I'm not able to care for my family and like I'm just trying to focus on doing my homework that, my techniques that you've taught me, but
Mhm.
um so I probably could be doing them a lot more than I have been, but it's a work in progress and I'll get there.
Yes, that's understandable. Like you said, everything is a work in progress. We're just making one step at a time. I am glad to hear that you're at least trying, and giving initiatives to be better. Now, last question before we move forward, but has it still been affecting as far as you being able to cook for your family? How's it been looking like as far as that? Have you been going out? How's it been looking?
So, yeah, it's been terrible. I haven't been able to cook. And to be honest, my husband just orders takeout because, like I said, every time I'm in the kitchen, it's just horrific. So he just has been ordering takeout, which I also feel guilty because it's expensive and it's not the healthiest for my son. So,
Right. Okay. Well, I get that. And once again, we're here to help one day at a time. It's not going to happen quickly. But I did want to throw out there this treatment called exposure therapy, if you are open to hear about it a little bit more.
yeah.
Okay, so exposure therapy is more so just to slowly get you exposed and get you around these activities or materials for you to start to slowly be able to get comfortable to be around these things without having panic attacks or anxiety or having to do, majority of the routines that you do before you leave the house or things like that. So as far as right now in today's session, I plan to ask you a couple of questions. We rate them from a scale of 1 to 10, one being, you know, little to no fear at all, 10 being like extremely fearful, can't do it, won't even put myself in that situation. Um, and I'll just go down a list of things and I'm gonna start with the smaller things, the smaller activities, and start to increase more so into the more intense activities. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah, that makes sense.
Do you feel like you'll be comfortable to experience this, to go through this together?
I'm a little nervous, but at this point, I mean, I just have to do something. So I'm willing to try.
Okay, well, thank you for at least trying. I am here to help, and whenever you feel uncomfortable, anything like that, we can always stop, we can slow down. If we need to push it to another session, just let me know, whatever you're comfortable with. Okay, so Like I said, I'm going to start with a couple of questions. And remember that the rating scale is from 1 to 10, 1 being minimum and 10 being the highest. Okay.
Okay.
And I'm going to start with the lower scenario questions. So the first one will be, if I drew a picture of a knife, how would you feel on the scale of that 1 to 10?
Honestly, probably a 7, just because the image I feel like would set me off.
Mm-hmm. So as far as imaging, now if I showed you a realistic picture, will it increase or would it stay the same?
It would definitely increase for sure.
Yeah. Now what if I showed you a picture of someone else holding the knife and not just the knife laying around? Someone else is in control of it.
I feel like it wouldn't be as bad. I would say honestly like a 5 or 6. But then
Mhm.
I feel like, to be honest with you, that I would have thoughts about them doing something. But it's
Right.
not, as it's not me. So that's not as bad, if that makes
Right.
sense.
Yeah, that makes sense. I totally understand. Now I know you did mention that any thought of knives and stuff will make you, real anxious. So my next question will be any image of a knife, even if it's seen on the TV, seen on scrolling on social media, at what level would you say you would be at?
I definitely feel like that would be like an 8 or 9.
Mhm. Okay, now what if you had like a toy version? You know how they make like a little kitchen play sets? What if you had like a toy
Mhm.
knife? Where would that take you?
I feel like that wouldn't be as bad now that I'm kind of thinking about it. Probably like a 4 or 5. I would definitely have to see, but
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's because I know that it doesn't have that same effect as a real one does. Like it won't hurt
Mhm.
somebody as badly.
Right. And that's understandable. I can get what you're saying on that. And that's why, we want to start seeing where your comfortability is. And that's where these questions come in. And just to see,
Mhm.
even things you probably didn't even think of. We're just throwing it out on the table to see where you stand between all of these things. So, um, now what if I had like a video of somebody like using a knife to cut some vegetables, but you're just hearing the sound of like the chopping and not more so seeing the actual knife?
I would probably say like a 5 or a 6. Um, yeah, I think my biggest problem is the imagery of it. So if I
Okay.
didn't see it, I feel like that would be much better than if I saw it. So yeah, I would say a 5 or a 6.
5 or a 6. Okay. Now
Yeah.
you saying now if you did see it, now that falls into my next question of if I showed you the actual video of somebody using the knife to cut a vegetable, the same video that I was allowing you to listen to, you're now able to see the images. Where does that take you from the actual sound?
Probably about a 9.
A 9. Okay. Now, those were a little bit lower distress questions. Now I'm going to get into a little bit of higher distress questions, and we're going to see how you feeling about that. Now say you're in your house and you see a knife, but it's like not near you. Say it's like on the kitchen counter across the room, and you're like in the dining room, living room table. How would that make you feel?
10.
10
Mhm,
automatic.
mhm.
Now I know you said you seeing somebody else use it now, and you kind of having a thought of what they will do with it. But what if it's your husband? What if he's cooking for your family? How would that make you feel seeing your husband actually use this utensil?
I'd say a 7, even though it really scares me. I trust my husband, so I feel like that trust helps out with my anxiety and my fear a little bit. So I would say a 7. I don't think it would be as bad as I think it would be.
Okay. Now, these are my last two questions here in the higher distress. But what if your husband asked you to bring him the knife to be able to use? What would be your comfortability or your level?
Um, oh, geez.
Do you think that would even be reasonable for you to do? Or would you probably turn down the
I'd honestly probably turn it down at this point. I mean,
Mhm.
maybe months from now, I'd be able to, but right now, I can't even fathom the thought. I just can't.
Okay. And that falls into my last question. Kind of hearing your previous answer, I kind of can guess how this one would go. But as far as cleaning, washing dishes, cleaning up, how would you feel about, washing the knives or cleaning it? Or how do you deal with it as of right now?
Um, so like I said, we basically have like all the sharp objects locked away. Obviously, if my husband, needs to use it without my knowledge of it, he knows where they are and like knows, how to get to them. And so he usually does the cleaning of it, but I don't do any of that right now. I don't feel like I'm even capable of doing that or thinking about doing that. I feel like I'd really go down into a spiral if I had
Right.
one in my hand.
Okay. Well, that's good to know. I'm glad to hear. Um, well, I'm not glad to hear about circumstances, but I'm glad to, be able to go through these things and actually get your comfortability with stuff so that way we can probably work together to kind of slowly get you comfortable in these certain things, starting with the lower distressed items.
Mhm.
I am going to send you home with some homework. It's kind of the same thing that I just went through with you as far as asking the questions and stuff, but you're kind of going to do it on your own. So say if you come to day-to-day life with things, and you feel like you're getting triggered, you will write that trigger down, write what happened, and you will let number it based off your comfortability or where your anxiety level was at that moment. Does that make sense?
Mhm. Mhm.
Okay. And then as time go on, I want to start working on you being able to the items, the triggers, and the things that we went over, starting to choose from the lowest distress and being able to experience it day by day and rate your levels of anxiety and rate your levels of comfortability as you start to experience it more and start to engage around it more, just so we can see your progress and just so we can see if there are different things that we can do or just to get you exposed.
Yeah. Okay.
Does that sound reasonable?
Yes. It's a lot,
Yes.
but yes, I can do it.
Yes, I know it's going to be hard. It's not going to be easy, but this is why we're in this together. I'm here to help you. I'm here to guide you. And, just breathe. We're going to take your time and we're just going to get through this. Okay.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Okay. No problem. Well, I'm glad to see you today. And I hope to see you again next week. And we can go over a little bit of the homework and how you felt about it. Okay.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
You're welcome. You have a good one.
You too. Bye.